Hello again. This is Sarah Holtzclaw with Developing Your Business Plan. This is Module 1A, and I call it kind of my reality check. All of you are looking to go into business for yourself in one way or another. And I just wanted to have a few moments to talk about why you're doing it and what you might be getting into. It's an exciting time, and there's a lot of ideas going around in your head, I'm sure. But I just kind of wanted to bring you back to earth and be a little bit of talk to you a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing. So, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is, quite frankly, the starter of small businesses. If you've taken any 125 classes at Ohlone, Intro to Business, you'll understand that what factor of production is, and that they've now added entrepreneur into a factor of production because every small business needs somebody to light that fire, to enjoy what they're doing, and to be that innovation for the business. They're careful about money, and yet they are risk takers. Of course, opening up a small business is a risk on itself, but they take it seriously. They take what they are doing seriously, yet they have fun at it because it's a flexible and they're self-directed so that they are able to get the job done. Entrepreneurs are starters of small business. So hopefully you see a little bit of all of this in you, because that will be the first step to making sure that you're successful at opening this small business idea of yours. In general, what is a small business? Small businesses are owned and operated independently. So they can be different types of entities. So you can be a small business and still be a corporation. And we talk about those business entities, those legal entities in 121B. But they're still independently operated. They're not a dominant force in the field. The vast majority of businesses in the United States are small businesses, but they're not. They're a small part of the total sales and profits in the United States. So lots of numbers of small businesses, but their revenue is much smaller than the corporations. And in general, a small business has fewer than 500 employees. Now, that's a federal number. Some people would think a small business has 100 employees, but the federal number, and when they talk about small businesses in the news or in politics, this is what they're talking about: 500 employees, an average of $6.5 million in annual revenue. And as you're thinking about that and saying, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great? $6.5 million in revenue as you're starting your idea. But that's it. That's what the data shows. And the pie chart right there in the lower corner shows the number of small businesses that opened in the last couple of years. I think this one is from 2009. However, the green in that pie chart are the number of employees, small businesses that have less than 20 employees, sorry. And the blue is less than 100 employees. So, and the orange is less than 500 employees, from 100 to 500. So you can see that of the small businesses, the vast majority of them also have less than 20 employees. So they are pretty small. So when I say reality check, this is one of the things I mean. Small businesses have a very high rate of failure. And in fact, half of them will fail within 5 years. So the good thing is that you are taking this class and hopefully 121B as well, and you'll get a good start on it, because planning is something that a lot of small businesses don't do. And writing a business plan is one of those really solid steps that you can take to make sure that you are part of the minority of those that make it. So you can see 10% of the businesses last 10 years. Um, so a lot of times it's fail fast, fail big, and fail fast. So 20% fail within the first year, and that's okay. You learn from it and you move on and you start your next one. You can see the graphic there at the with the penny there that 40% of small businesses are profitable. The other 60 are either just break even or lose money. So again, the business plan should help you do that, especially that financial section. How are you going to make money doing what you want to do? So I found an article in Bloomberg, and um, it talks about why businesses fail. And so I kind of wanted to go through those so that you have an idea. And again, this is my reality check for you, so you can see what are the common reasons businesses fail, so that you can then take that information and say, I'm not going to be one of those. I'm going to do X so that um, I'm not falling into any of these traps. So again, this is a list from Bloomberg reports. It's got a dozen or so reasons why businesses fail, and let's just kind of touch on them. So failure to plan, but you're now at this point that you are planning, right? So not everybody does what you're doing. Um, some people just have this great idea and they have some savings behind them and they're just going to go for it. But they don't plan for the future. They don't plan for the long run. And so that's what you are here to do, to get that plan. Business plans are living documents, so you want to come back to them, but and change it and create new plans. But you're at a good starting point right now. Financial and operational management are critical, and if you can't do that, you need to find somebody who can for you. Whether that is finding a financial um, accountant that can help you put some plans together, or finding somebody who, if you're the financial guru, find somebody who's an operational guru. Go into partnership with them. But part of the failure rate has to do with a manager's lack of the ability to operate the small business. You have a really great idea, but you can't bring it to reality. Not in touch with the customer. What does the customer say? What do they want? If you're not close to the customer and asking them those kinds of questions, then it's really tough to get them the product or the service that they're looking for. No product or service differentiation. So what is the difference between you and your competitors? Why should somebody be buying your service or your product over your competitors? You need to make sure that that is clear to your customer. Lots of people have good ideas. Not everybody has the leadership to bring them down or bring them up to fruition. And a lot of times they've got the great idea, but they're not good managers, or they're fight with their partners, or whatever the case. But that lack of experience can really bring somebody down. Poor credit is one of the biggest reasons that businesses fail. And that goes along with over-investing in your fixed assets. Fixed assets are things like real estate or furniture and things like that take up your money, so that you can't use that money to invest in product inventory and invest in raw materials to get your product and service down to the customer. Poor credit is using your credit cards and getting to a point where it's really tough to borrow more. So a lot of times when businesses go well, people um, grow faster than they have control of it. And you need to grow naturally and healthy. Unplanned growth and out of control growth can be fatal because you then aren't getting the product or service to the customer on time, or and you lose control of quality and that sort of thing. So you need to make sure that the growth that you have planned in the next 5 years, for example, is a healthy natural growth. Lots of times people say, settle on a location, and it turns out to be a bad location. It turns out to be a location that you haven't actually analyzed or investigated, and it may be cheap, but it doesn't work for your product or service. So you need to get, when it comes time to locating your business, you need to spend some time on that, because a bad location can drive the business to fail. Inventory control: buy too much of it, invest too much in it. You can't then use that money to pay staff or to finance your growth. So you need to make sure that you have just enough inventory to get the product to the customer, but not too much that's just sitting around. And then lastly, it's the transitioning into being a small business owner. You have this really great idea, making decisions, but you don't have the entrepreneurial background that allows you to do what you need to do. And that comes sometimes in partnerships and bringing the right people on board that do have that background, bringing a marketer on board, bringing an operational manager on board, or a financial manager on board, that allows you to do the risk taking and the ideas, and they can do the rest of it. So, what are some of the drawbacks of owning a small business? There's certainly, we're going to talk about drawbacks first, and then we're going to talk about the good things. Sorry, but I want to make sure that you are, again, grounded in reality. When you start a small business, there is not a certain income, because you are the one that gets paid last. The owners are the ones that get paid last. So you don't know from month to month what your income will be. And then certainly in the first year or so, there might not be income. So you need to make sure that you are ready for that. When small business owners, entrepreneurs find this fantastic idea that they want to invest their retirement in, their savings and that sort of thing in, and they sink it all in there, you do have a risk of losing it. You do have that risk, so you want to make sure that you are okay with losing the investment that you might put into this business. Business owners are long hours, and it's hard work. A lot of times, a business owner is the dishwasher, the busser, the waiter, and the cook, for example. So you want to make sure that you're okay, that your family's okay with you doing some long hours. It also includes closing up shop and then doing the paperwork and the bookkeeping. So it can be, say, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, because it's your baby, right? So while you're getting the business established, those long hours and hard work turn into a not so great quality of life, because you can't necessarily take vacations. You don't have the time for that. You're the sole owner, sole proprietor. There's not somebody that can do it for you. So lots of times that hard work turns into very long hours, and might take you away from your family. So you want to make sure that you're okay with that too, and that your family is okay with it. With it comes a high level of stress. You've just sunk your investment into it. You've just sunk everything you own into it, and you have this great idea. And stress levels can be quite high. So make sure your health and that you keep track of you as well when it comes to all of this. Another drawback is that you have complete responsibility of the business. It's your baby, and you are the ones that the person who is responsible for its success and failure. And a lot of times, that when you've got something not going the way you thought it was going to go, it can be really discouraging. So the question then is, why would you even want to do this? Why start a small business? There are lots of reasons to start a small business, but some of the reasons is that people just don't like being their own, they want to be their own boss, and they like the freedom and flexibility that owning your own business brings with it. If you are working out of your home and you wanted to work in your sweats and a sweatshirt, or sleep until 9 and do work until 7 p.m., then you can. There's necessarily no hours that you have to be there, right? So there is a lot of freedom and flexibility in starting your own business. When you're an employee of a company, you are earning a paycheck, and it's a steady paycheck, and you know exactly how much you're going to get every month or every 2 weeks. And that's one of the drawbacks, right, was the uncertainty of income. So when you're an employee, you have that certainty of income. You know how much your paycheck's going to be. You know, balancing that with your bills, how much you're going to have left over at the end of the month. The uncertainty of income on the flip side of that is that you have the potential to earn a lot more money, a much higher income potential if the business goes and takes off. So the the low point at starting it and the uncertainty of that income, it's starting your own business has a much higher potential of earning. You know, a lot of people just have a passion or a great idea and they just want to see it through. So that's an absolutely valid reason to starting a small business. Having control of the entire situation. A lot of times, people that are employees and they have their area of expertise, but they see things that they would do differently in other areas of the company. Here, you have all that control to make changes where you see fit. You have the opportunity to not only make a bunch of money, but when you're depending on how you set the business up as a partnership or a sole proprietor, those expenses can be deducted off of your income so that you're taxed less. Um, so it actually is a pretty good deal for small business owners that way. There's a lot of liability that comes with it, but you can deduct your expenses off your tax return. We go through that also in 121B. You know, and a lot of times people have been out of work for a while and they have this idea and they say, you know what, now's the time. There's no greater time. I'm unemployed. There's no better time than the present. So I can't find another job, so let's make myself a job. And that is, like I said, a valid reason to take off and do the business that you've had in the back of your mind for a long time. So there are 3 ways that you can become an entrepreneur. And again, we talk about these in 121B, but you could, and you might also have an idea in mind, but if that idea is to develop your own idea. You've got a new kind of bicycle that you want to develop. You want to open your own bicycle shop. You want to open your own bookstore, your own restaurant, that sort of thing. That's a great idea. You could also buy into a franchised business. There are franchised businesses in which you then have their brand recognition immediately. And they, depending on the kinds of business it is, um, can be inexpensive to buy into or expensive to buy into. McDonald's are pretty expensive to buy into, but other things like Merry Maids or other kinds of franchises might not be so bad. So you never know. You can, might, if you have a passion, you might look into getting into a franchise, look into the possibility of just opening a franchised business. The third opportunity for you to become an entrepreneur is to buy an existing business. So there's ups and downs to to all three of these, yeah, but those are three of the different ways that you could become your own boss. And this is the end of Module 1A. So Module 1B starts getting into the business plan itself. See you soon.